Welcome to Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. I'm your host, Leia Love, and today we have Debra Shapiro of magazine. She is a magazine collage artist. So today we're going to talk about how it's never too late to start and follow your passion. Welcome, Debra.
Thank you, Leah.
So tell me a little bit about your artwork and your business.
Okay, so I'm a magazine collage artist, which means I take magazines, rip them up in little pieces, and I use that as my paint. So all my artwork, you would see from a distance, you kind of think it's a painting, but when you get up close, you'll see all kind of little images and all kind of little things in it. So it makes it a little bit more interesting.
Okay, how long have you been doing that?
I've only been doing this for about 5 years now.
Okay, 5 years.
And how I kind of got started with that, I had been a videographer for 35 years, and I did stuff for local corporations and History Channel and A&E and all these different places. And then 5 years ago, I had to get a double jaw surgery. And I had 2 surgeries, and both of the times I was laid up for a few months, was on a liquid diet, and my mother gave me a bunch of magazines as I was recovering, just something to look at. And I just kind of thought they were colorful, and I started ripping them up and playing around with it and start making these collages. And my husband would show them to people, and I was like, oh wow, that's really different. So then it got in my head, like, maybe I should do something with this, and that's just kind of took off from there.
Took off from there, wow. How long did it take you to sell your first piece?
Well, let's see, when I first realized I wanted to do this and try to make a living out of it and kind of fade away from video, I first kind of made myself a goal. I was going to do 50 pieces and learn everything I could about the art business, because it's totally different from the video business. And the second year is when I started doing art shows. And really the first art show I did, as I was setting up, someone came in my booth and bought a piece before I was done setting up. Okay. And then about an hour later, somebody else bought a piece. So that was like super encouraging, because I had no idea if anybody would buy anything.
Yeah. Okay. So where do you find your inspirations from?
Inspiration for my collage pieces? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I try to do something that relates to my life, because that's one thing I like when I go to art museums or galleries, especially museums. You see something from the 1500s, and I look at how they're dressed and what they're about, and I think kind of, well, this is what's the artist's life. Mm-hmm. So I try to be true to myself. So I have animals. I have 2 dogs, 2 cats, so I do a lot of animals. I love animals. And then also, I kind of say it's part of my suburban lifestyle. You know, me and my friends, we like to drink wine and drink coffee. So you'll find a lot of just kind of common everyday things that I could relate with.
Okay. And would you say that you were passionate about what you did before, as passionate as you were before as you are now about what you're doing?
I'm way more passionate about this. I did have art like when I was a young kid through grade school, but I graduated in 1981, so this is before the internet, and I really didn't see a way to become an artist making money back then. So I went into the video business, and I really enjoyed it. I had an opportunity to go in the salt mines at Lake Erie and fly in helicopters and do a lot of fun things I probably never would have done had I done some desk job. So I really liked it, but it was never, there was plenty of times I would get a phone call and it's like, oh, I don't want to do this shoot or whatever. Mm-hmm. But with art, it's a totally different thing. I just can't get enough of it. And I love every opportunity I could find, and I definitely far more passionate now than I was before.
So tell me about that transition period where you were working as a videographer and you were like, okay, I think it's time for me to transition, or were you just thinking, I'm just gonna go ahead and go?
That's a big step. What I first did, I was still doing video, and I just kind of played around with the idea of doing art, because I didn't know if I could actually make a living from it or sell anything. So I worked really hard, because I was still doing a lot of video, and then on weekends or evenings, whenever I could, I would try to do some art and try to get into some art shows. When I finally started making more money doing art, I really had to dedicate more time to it. So there did come a point where I started turning down some shoots, and that was a really scary thing to do. But I did it, and then really just about a year and a half ago, I got rid of my website for my video business, and I stopped describing myself as a videographer, and I just described myself as an artist. So it was a slow transition. I would say probably about a 3-4 year period before I totally embraced the fact that I'm an artist and this is what I'm doing. So it was a slow period to
It
do
was a slow
that.
period to
Yeah.
do. Okay. What did you fear most?
What I feared most as I was transitioning, like if anybody would actually like my art, you know, I mean, because it's really part of your soul that you put into your artwork. It's like your own personal baby. So it's, when you hear someone critique it, it really kind of like stabs you.
Yeah.
So I was kind of worried that, you know, will people actually like my artwork? And it takes a while to build up that tough skin. And I kind of came up with a way of, I read someplace about the 25% rule. If you ever heard that, where like 25% of the people in this world will absolutely love everything you do. Another 25% will like you, but they could be easily persuaded not to like you. There's another 25% that don't like you, but they could be persuaded to like you. And then there's another 25% that will never ever like you. It's just kind of like the law of gravity. So when I've had a few people come into my booth and they'll say like, oh, I could do this or whatever, you know, at first that kind of hurt me, but I realized those are probably that 25% that will never like me, and I'm not going to worry about it. You know, I'm not going to waste my time on that.
That's a good attitude to have, because I think that's one of the things in business that they really don't prepare you for, is that customer that will not like your stuff, or maybe an irate customer or something like that, but being able to handle that criticism gracefully, I should say.
Right. And you also have to realize not everybody's your customer, because I realize not everybody's going to like my artwork. I have some friends that they don't have pets or anything, and for a long time I was doing just nothing but animals, and they told me how much they love my artwork, but they don't care for the animals. So I realized not everyone's my customer, and I'm not going to appeal to everybody, but there are enough people out there that really like what I'm doing, and those are the people I'm going to concentrate on.
Good. So what have you learned about yourself during your transition that maybe you didn't necessarily think about yourself before, you know, to get stronger, just some different things about yourself that you learned?
I think through the art, I have really kind of called on things I've learned throughout my career. As far as getting up and speaking in front of people, I used to have to do that and I was so nervous. And now I'm learning like how to be more comfortable doing that. And I'm kind of learning that just to have more confidence in myself. Because really now that I'm following my passion, it's so much easier to talk about what you're doing and showing people what you do.
So how much risk do you think that someone later in life should be willing to take? And I'm sure this is based off of their own situation, but what do you think would be a limit for them to shoot for the stars if they were just really full of self-doubt or thinking about a lot of risk?
Yeah, I don't think you should ever limit yourself. I mean, it does take a lot of hard work, and you really do have to believe in yourself. But you know, as you get older, you can't just quit your job. You have bills, you have a house and car and everything you have to pay. So that's a huge risk if you just say tomorrow's like I'm just going to quit and do this. You really do need to do a lot of research. You need to kind of test the waters, see, you know, do people like what you're putting out there? And especially if you're doing it by yourself, you don't have a staff of people to help you or anything, it's going to take longer. And you just have to keep that in mind. But if you keep, I believe the more you keep doing something, the world is going to start showing you the way. More opportunities are going to open up. So you just really have to put yourself out there, you know, and see what comes along.
Absolutely. So what does a perfect workday look like for you that you're working towards?
Okay, well, my perfect workday, this is how my average workday is. Usually I get up in the morning, have coffee, walk the dog, but then I work on my social media. You know, I'll try to post whatever I can, wherever. If I have any print orders, I kind of take care of all those type of things. That's kind of like that left brain part of me that does the technical stuff. But the afternoons, I do art. I work on art all afternoon, and I love that.
What's been your biggest learning curve or challenge?
Yeah, as far as a challenge goes, it's really just kind of learning the business side of the art, because I really didn't know anything about it. What I had before was a service business, and now this is like a product. And there's a whole different way of selling things, and especially today. Now I'm being older, I had to learn all this different ways that you could sell online and on using the internet and everything. So that was a big curve, trying to keep up and learn like what you do nowadays to get your name out there. And I really think the internet is really what you have to, that's how people find you nowadays.
Has that been your biggest driver for getting your name out there? what have you found as being your better driver vehicle for that?
Oh, I think definitely social media, and mostly with Facebook and Instagram. I have followers there, and also with YouTube. Now, I used to have a YouTube channel for my video business, but if you go into my videos, you'll see stuff about like knee surgeries and everything, stuff I used to videotape. But now, you know, over the past year, you'll see all kind of art videos. And since I've been doing that, I'm starting to get like followers every day. So I'm not really pursuing it, but I think that's a channel I really need to investigate to do that.
You too.
And also, getting out face to face with people. Yeah, there's no excuse not to do that, because that's where you really build up the audience, and that's where I sell most of my artwork, is when I'm face to face with somebody.
Do you still believe in mentorship? Has that been effective for you?
Yes, absolutely, because you could learn a lot from other people. Now for me, I found people online that have done the same thing later in life, have become a successful artist. So I search out these people, and I will like read everything I can about them. I haven't necessarily contacted them or anything, but I'll read everything I can about them, and usually they have videos and blogs and everything. But that's really helped me, because you could kind of learn over some of their stumbling blocks, and you kind of know what to expect and everything. So yeah, I think mentorship is a good thing.
A good thing. All right, if you're just tuning in, we are talking to Debra Shapiro today, and we're talking about how it's never too late to follow your passion, and I'm your host, Leia Love. So, now you are 55, and a fabulous looking 55.
Thank you.
So, how do you deal with the disappointments and the naysayers, and specifically people who are in your families or close friend circle who say, you know, it's too late for you, you're too old for that? You know, how do you deal with that?
For me, I did have that, where someone once told me that I'm too old to become an artist and I don't have the right art background. And this was somebody in the art world. And that kind of like got me a little upset, to the point that it became a fuel for me, because like, I'm going to prove you wrong, because I can do this. As far as family members and friends and all that, I do have some people that are like surprised, like when they heard that I'm going for this, I'm going to do it. They're like, wow, that's, you know, really kind of gutsy to do that. But it just fuels me more. That it's like, I can do this, and I will prove people wrong. So.
Do you have like a model in your head that you tell yourself sometimes when you're like feeling discouraged or?
No, but I do go online, and I'll even just reading quotes, even though I know that sounds kind of silly. And before I did art, I always thought like quotes are like whatever. But now I really kind of believe them. You know, reading some things that make me think like, yeah, I could do this too. And it's really believing in yourself, and believing that you kind of visualize what you want to be, and then you work backwards from there. It's like, how am I going to get there? And you just kind of stay focused on your plan to get there.
Absolutely. So if someone doesn't know exactly what their passion is, how would they go about figuring that out?
You know, I take a lot of webinars and online classes and so forth, and somebody had this one little model of how to figure that out. And basically what you kind of do is think about what your values are, what's important to you, and then think about what you're really good at. And then you also think about the third like little circle she had was like, what are your interests? And then take a look at that and see if you could kind of combine all those things. And you probably find your passion in there, because you want things that are true to yourself and whatever skills you have. I believe that all of us are gifted in one way or another. Now, being art or music, it's kind of easy to see what that is, but other people are gifted with numbers or the gift of gab or whatever. And I believe our gift is not for us to keep to ourselves, but to share with others, to share with the world. And I think if you could share your gift, you're going to be happier, and the world needs your gift. So you really just need to kind of follow what you were meant to do.
Absolutely. So, what's been your proudest moment yet?
Well, I think you know, the proudest moment was probably the first couple pieces that I sold, because that just proved to me is like, yes, you know, I can do this. But it's also nice to make my mother happy. You know, she sees me, you know, all these things that I'm doing, and I know she's proud of me, and still that little girl in me that, you know, wants your mom to be happy with it. So,
What's been your favorite piece that you've done so far?
I have this leg series, which is actually me. I have my husband take a photo of me, and my legs are crossed, and I have about 6 pieces, but each one tells a story. And what I like about that, because the other ones, there's a cute little animal, it's a cute dog or cat, and that's all it is. But this, I could tell, I'll be holding things like a coffee cup, or when I did about the presidential election from 2016. So they have more meaning to them. A lot of people, they're interested in what they're about, but they don't necessarily want to buy them. But I like being able to tell a story. It's my own personal project for myself. So I like those.
So what do you say to people who are in your age bracket? They don't have any formal education, and they feel like they can't move or go after their passion because they don't, quote unquote, have the right education level?
Okay, well, I think they need to open their mind, because today with the internet, you can learn anything. I don't really think you need a formal education. Unless you're becoming an engineer or a doctor, then absolutely you need that. As for art and many other businesses, there's so much you can learn online, and you really have to keep up with it because the world is changing, technology is changing. So just research anything that comes to your mind, anything related to what you want to do, and you will find tons of people out there, read their stories, but take online classes, and a lot of them are free. I mean, you don't need money to educate yourself nowadays.
Which is true. Did you use anybody like SCORE or any of those organizations to do like the business side, or do you think that you already kind of knew a little bit about that?
I knew a lot of that from doing my video business. I did go to SCORE like a long time ago when I started my own video business. After working for corporations, in 2000 I went out on my own. But I took a lot of that knowledge that I had over the years and applied that to my art business. So I knew how to work with customers and do all the accounting side of it and the marketing and so forth. Although the marketing's different, because now I'm doing it all online. But I really didn't go through much of that. Although I do belong to like a women's group for women entrepreneurs, which I think it's good to be around other people that are trying to better themselves too and have their own businesses, because you'll learn a lot from that too.
So how did you find that business?
I would attend, I went to I found on Meetup a bloggers group, and I met with these bloggers, and then one of the people in the bloggers group told me about this other group, so that's when I went to that. And then still, there's some things right here in Akron that I'll go to, like an Akron Entrepreneurs group, which is tomorrow. So I'll look for anything, mostly through Meetup, you can find a lot of things. Okay,
Meetup's been your go-to?
Yeah, and once you start to know people, then you'll find they'll tell you about other things too.
Okay. What have been some of your favorite books for education in general?
My favorite books are probably from Napoleon Hill, who was from the 30s, and he wrote like How to Think and Grow Rich, which it sounds like it's a get rich scheme, but it's not. It's really what you think you become. And he kind of lays out a plan of how you should really figure out what you want to do and create an action plan and how to follow through with that, and how to read every single day, your thing that you want to desire. He's had a couple other books, and I just find them so inspirational. And I think a lot of people nowadays, like Tony Robbins and all that, really kind of took a chapter out of his book and they kind of like made the whole thing out of it. But his stuff is really what really inspires me. Okay.
Napoleon. Is there anything you regret not doing or wish you would have done?
Now, I kind of wish I would have thought of art before. Of course, when I had the jaw surgery, art was not even on my radar at all. I had no clue that would be something I would want to do. But really just during those few months as I was recovering, it really just, that desire really hit me that I really wanted to do art. But all my life I always kind of thought with video, it's not really what I wanted to do. So I knew there was something deep inside me that was just kind of itching to get out, but I didn't really know what that was. So I wish I probably would have put more effort in figuring out what that was years ago.
Sooner.
Yeah.
So if money was not a factor, is this a passion that you would do for free?
Absolutely. I think with art, I could do this till I'm like hopefully 105 or however long I live, because it's not work. I just can't wait to do the next one. even before I go to bed at night, I'll look at whatever's on my easel and think about what I want to do in the morning, what things I want to change on it. Art is something I will always do. Even if I, no longer have a website and no longer doing art festivals, I will still be doing art.
Well, you mentioned passion. I think sometimes, people get into an area that they're not really just passionate about. How important has that been with everything that you've done?
I think it would really hold people back. I could think of some of my friends that are my age that have been in jobs that they just don't like, and they think about retiring and they can't even imagine staying in their job till they retire. And I think if you're like that, and I know them and they have some other skills like music or something, that I know they'd be so happy to do that. I think you really need to follow your passion, because you will be a much happier person, as a whole. I mean, you have to follow your passion to do that. So,
all right, so you're 55 and you've got about 50 more years to get to 105.
At least. Yep.
What adventures do you still want to accomplish and do?
I definitely want to do some more traveling. I have done some, but I would love to see more parts of the world and everything. So that's really kind of, and also I'd love to live in the mountains. Wake up in the morning and look out my window and see this beautiful mountain out there. So, and also I want an art studio someday too.
Okay.
So I've got a few things on my list I still need to do. And
would you like to have
accomplish.
your art studio here in Akron?
Or in the mountains.
In the mountains? Yeah. Everybody can come up there and have a mountain party, an art party. Okay, and then what would you say were some of your top limiting beliefs that you think would hinder you or keep you from succeeding along the way?
I think I've overcome a lot of them over the years, but when I was younger, I was definitely very shy, more introverted, and I kind of always thought that nobody really cared about what I had to say or what I had to offer. That took many years to kind of overcome that. And with art, I think it's even brought me out more, because I'm really just showing the world my true self. In every picture I do, everything, it's really me. And I think it's really helped me overcome a lot of that.
Okay.
And also doing like TV shows like this. I'm not comfortable. Yeah.
If you could be remembered for two things, what would they be?
Well, one, I think everybody wants to be remembered for something. You want your time on this earth to have some kind of lasting impact. So I see that with my artwork. My artwork will hopefully outlive me, and there'll be somebody somewhere that says, "Oh yeah, that was that artist, Debra Shapiro." Yeah. So that would definitely be one of them. The other thing I think is just that people remember that I was a nice, kind person. I want to be known as someone would like to get to know.
Okay. Yeah. What are some of your favorite spots in Akron?
Favorite spots in Akron. Now, I grew up in the Cleveland area, so I came down here about 15 years ago. I live over by Fair Lawn. So what I really love about where I live is I'm really close to the Cuyahoga National Valley. I do a lot of hiking there with my dogs. So I love the fact that there's so much greenery, and then also you've got the downtown area. And there's some great restaurants down there, so I enjoy doing that. And also Portage Lakes is kind of nice too. Just a fun little place to go once in a while.
Okay. And do you have a favorite restaurant?
We eat out so much because we don't have kids. So, I do cook sometimes, but there's so many different restaurants. I do like, I don't know if I could just say, the Clearview. I love the smaller restaurants, not necessarily like chain restaurants. So there's a Clearview up in Bath on Cleveland Maslin there. Love Mexican restaurants, any Mexican restaurant I could go to. I also love the Merchant down in the valley, and then Pub Rico across the street.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, in your last minute, what would be your advice to someone who is listening right now and they are thinking about following their passion, or they're just not even sure if that's even on the radar? What would you tell them?
You have to follow your passion. Absolutely. I mean, do whatever you can. Think about what you really want to do. If you don't know what that is, and if there is something, life is short. I mean, we don't know if we'll be here tomorrow. And I think that had a lot to do with my jaw surgery. It really made me think that, what am I doing here? So I believe that you don't have a minute to waste. You need to start working on your passion. And even if that's just doing a little something every single day, that's going to grow into something big. So do whatever you can and just start doing what you need to do.
Do what you need to do.
Yep.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us today with Miss Debra Shapiro.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate your artwork and we look forward to seeing it. How can somebody contact you?
You could find me at debrashapiroart.com, and you can see all my artwork there. And I have all my links to all my social media too.
Okay. Well, continue to look forward and follow your passion in life. And we want to thank you for joining us for Forum 360 today, where we have a global outlook from a local view. I'm your host, Leia Love. Have a great week.
Forum 360 is brought to you with support from Electric Impulse Communications, Kim and Harvey Nelson, Rubber City Radio Group, Acronist.com, Hudson Cable, Medical Mutual of Ohio, Forum 360 supporters, and the Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron.